The biting wind whipped around Dr. Alaric Vance, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and ancient secrets. His worn tweed jacket offered little defense against the relentless chill of the British countryside in early spring. Below him, the muddy excavation site stretched out, a patchwork of trenches and meticulously labelled sections. To anyone else it was just another field in Wiltshire, but to Alaric it was a canvas waiting for a forgotten masterpiece to be revealed. His theory, whispered among academic circles and openly scoffed at in department meetings, was audacious. A hidden Roman villa, not just any villa, but a sprawling estate belonging to a high-ranking official, far larger and more opulent than anything yet discovered in Britain. Most of his colleagues at the British Museum dismissed it as the desperate fantasy of a man clinging to a fading career. Dr. Eleanor Reed, his former mentor and now staunchest critic, was particularly vocal. "Alaric, my dear fellow," she'd purr, her voice dripping with condescension. "Your imagination, while commendable, often outpaces your evidence. There's nothing here but more Iron Age pottery." Today, however, Alaric felt a prickle of something different in the air, not just the cold, but a palpable sense of anticipation. His small team, a couple of eager students and a perpetually pessimistic field assistant named Graham, were sifting through another layer of unremarkable soil. Graham grumbled about the lack of finds, but Alaric's gaze was fixed on a subtle shift in the Earth's discoloration, a faint line barely discernible to the untrained eye. It was consistent with the faint anomalies he'd detected with ground-penetrating radar months ago, readings dismissed by others as geological quirks. He knelt, pulling a small trowel from his belt. The ground was stubborn, packed tight by centuries of weather and forgotten history. As he carefully scraped away a thin layer, a shard of reddish-brown pottery emerged, not the crude local ware, but a fragment of fine Samian ware, unmistakably Roman. His heart hammered against his ribs. It was small, insignificant to most, but to Alaric it was a whisper from the past, a tantalizing hint that his wild theory might not be so wild after all. A faint, almost imperceptible tremor ran through the ground, as if the earth itself was stirring. "Dr. Vance," Graham's voice cut through the quiet, laced with an unusual urgency. "You need to see this." Alaric looked up, a thrill running through him. He knew with an unshakable certainty that the mockery was about to end. The real work was just beginning. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to follow Alaric's incredible journey as he uncovers secrets that will shock the world. Graham stood over a freshly dug trench, his eyes wide, pointing with a muddy finger. "Look, sir, it's intact." Alaric hurried over, his earlier excitement now a surge of adrenaline. Embedded in the dark, damp earth was not just another shard, but the rim of a beautifully crafted Roman amphora, its terracotta still retaining a deep, rich hue despite millennia underground. It was undeniably out of place, too finely made for the local farmsteads, too grand for a mere settlement. He carefully brushed away the clinging soil, revealing more of the vessel. This wasn't a discard, it was a deliberate burial. A thrill of vindication shot through him. "Graham, this is it," Alaric breathed, his voice barely a whisper. "This is proof. Get the cameras, meticulous notes. We need to expand this trench immediately and carefully." The students, invigorated by the sudden shift in mood, moved with renewed purpose. The cold wind no longer seemed to bother them. News of the amphora quickly reached the local press, bringing a smattering of curious onlookers and, more importantly, a call from the British Museum. Dr. Eleanor Reed's tone on the phone was cool, professional, but Alaric could detect a hint of forced cordiality. "An interesting find, Alaric," she'd conceded, "but one amphora does not a villa make. Still, we'll send a junior liaison to observe. Standard procedure." He knew it was her way of keeping tabs, hoping to catch him failing. He welcomed it. Let them watch. Over the next few days, the team worked tirelessly. The amphora was just the beginning. Below it, they unearthed a section of remarkably preserved mosaic flooring, geometric patterns in shades of deep red, ochre, and pale cream. It was a fragment, yes, but its quality suggested something grand, something truly exceptional. The air around the dig site hummed with a different kind of energy now, no longer just the sound of shovels, but the whispers of history being coaxed from the earth. The sky overhead remained a stubborn gray, but for Alaric, a brilliant sun had begun to shine. The mosaic discovery changed everything. News crews descended, cameras flashing, microphones thrust into Alaric's face. He spoke with a quiet confidence, careful not to overstate, but allowing the evidence to speak for itself. The British Museum, no longer able to dismiss the finds, sent a full team, led by Dr. Reed herself. Her presence was like a chill wind, cutting through the enthusiasm of the site. She moved with an air of authority, her eyes scrutinizing every square inch, a skeptical frown perpetually etched on her face. "Remarkable if true, Alaric," she remarked, observing the exposed mosaic, her voice lacking any genuine warmth. "But mosaics were not uncommon. We need more, substantial evidence of a villa of the scale you propose. Anything less is mere speculation." Her subtle dismissiveness grated on Alaric, but he held his tongue, knowing that concrete finds were his only true weapon. The pressure intensified. The university, initially hesitant, now pushed for rapid progress, sensing the potential for prestige and funding. Alaric found himself juggling media demands, logistical nightmares, and the subtle yet constant undermining from Reed's team. He noticed one of Reed's junior researchers, a sharp-eyed young woman named Clara, spending an unusual amount of time near their most promising sections, sketching in a notebook, her expression unreadable. One afternoon, a small yet significant structural anomaly was detected by Graham using a new geophysical survey. It suggested the presence of a large, deeply buried foundation, far exceeding the typical size of known Roman structures in the region. Alaric felt a jolt of excitement. This wasn't just a building, this was a complex. But before he could properly investigate, a series of minor yet frustrating setbacks began. Tools went missing, survey markers were subtly moved, and data logs appeared to be corrupted. Alaric couldn't shake the feeling that these weren't accidents. Someone, it seemed, didn't want him to succeed. The gray, damp sky seemed to mirror the growing unease. The setbacks escalated. A critical piece of surveying equipment was found deliberately damaged. Field notes from a key section of the dig went missing, only to reappear days later, soaked and illegible. Alaric's initial frustration gave way to a cold certainty. This was no longer a string of unfortunate coincidences. Someone was actively trying to impede his progress. His eyes fell on Clara, the young researcher from Eleanor Reed's team. She was often seen observing, her presence just a little too constant. He decided to approach her subtly. "Clara," he began, finding her alone by a recently exposed wall section. "You seem to have a keen interest in this site. What are your thoughts on the recent irregularities?" Clara stiffened slightly, her gaze darting away. "Irregularities, Dr. Vance. I've noticed nothing unusual, just the usual challenges of field archaeology." Her tone was clipped, too defensive. Alaric sensed her unease. He knew Eleanor Reed was ambitious, but to resort to sabotage, it seemed a step too far, even for her, yet the evidence pointed to an inside job. He decided to confide in Graham. Graham, though a pessimist, was fiercely loyal. "Someone's messing with us, Graham. I think it's coming from Reed's camp." Graham's brow furrowed. "I had a feeling, sir. Saw Clara lurking near the equipment shed the other night long after everyone else left. Said she was double-checking inventories." His voice was low, conspiratorial. The air grew heavy with unspoken suspicion. As they discussed their suspicions, a heavy rain began to fall, turning the site into a slick, muddy mess. The dig, already under pressure, became even more challenging. Alaric knew he had to act, not just to protect his work, but to protect his reputation and the truth. He decided to set a trap, a subtle test to confirm his suspicions. The next move was his, and he couldn't afford to be wrong. The stakes had never been higher. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to follow Alaric's incredible journey as he uncovers secrets that will shock the world. Alaric's trap was simple yet effective. He intentionally misplaced a small, distinctly marked Roman coin near a section of the dig that only Clara had been working on recently. He then discreetly observed. Within hours, the coin reappeared among a collection of general finds from a completely different trench, a trench Graham had been meticulously clearing. It was a clumsy attempt at misdirection, but it confirmed Alaric's suspicion about Clara. He confronted her directly, not with accusations, but with carefully presented facts. "Clara," he stated, holding up a photograph of the coin. "This coin was found here," pointing to the initial placement, "and then later here," indicating its rediscovery. He watched her carefully. Her face paled and her composure crumbled. "Dr. Vance, I can explain," she stammered, her voice barely audible. "Dr. Reed, she instructed me to slow your progress, to discredit your methods. She said your theories were reckless, that you were jeopardizing funding for more credible projects." Tears welled in her eyes. "I didn't want to, but she threatened my career, my scholarship." Alaric felt a surge of disappointment, but also a strange kind of empathy. He understood the immense pressure young academics faced. "Clara," he said, his voice softer, "what you've done is wrong, but you have a chance to make it right. Help me expose what's really happening here. The truth matters more than any career." He offered her a path to redemption, a chance to choose integrity over misguided loyalty. The sky, which had been a relentless grey, seemed to lighten almost imperceptibly as Clara, after a moment of tearful contemplation, nodded. "What do you need me to do, Dr. Vance?" Her voice was still shaky, but there was a flicker of resolve in her eyes. The path ahead was still fraught with challenges, but now Alaric had an unexpected ally. The deception was unmasked, and the real battle for the truth was about to begin. With Clara's cooperation, Alaric and Graham were able to circumvent the subtle sabotage, and the pace of the excavation accelerated. Clara, now determined to right her wrongs, provided invaluable insights into Dr. Reed's strategies, allowing Alaric to anticipate and counteract them. Their combined efforts bore fruit quickly. Following the deep geophysical anomaly, they began carefully excavating a particularly stubborn section of earth. The ground was unusually compacted, almost as if it had been deliberately reinforced. Graham, working with a pickaxe, struck something solid with a dull thud. "Sir, I think we've hit bedrock, but it feels too smooth." Alaric rushed over, his heart pounding. He began to meticulously clear the surrounding soil with a hand trowel. What emerged was not bedrock, but a perfectly cut large stone block, expertly fitted into others. It was a section of a meticulously constructed Roman wall, far deeper and more robust than anything they had encountered on the site. This was not a superficial ruin. This was a substantial, buried structure. As more soil was cleared, the outline of a large, perfectly preserved archway began to reveal itself. It was clearly an entrance, sealed for centuries. The air around them grew heavy with the scent of damp earth and something else, a faint, almost metallic aroma, like ancient dust and confined space. The sky, which had been overcast for days, briefly parted, allowing a shaft of sunlight to illuminate the unearthed archway, casting it in an ethereal glow. "It's a chamber," Alaric whispered, his voice filled with awe. "A hidden chamber, and it's intact. The implications were staggering. No known Roman villa in Britain had such a feature. This was not just a villa, it was something unprecedented, something designed to conceal. The years of mockery, the struggle, the sabotage, it all faded in the face of this profound discovery. They were on the verge of uncovering a secret that had lain buried for nearly 2 millennia. The news of the hidden chamber spread like wildfire, forcing the British Museum to send a full contingent, including Dr. Reed, with a significantly altered demeanor. Her former condescension was replaced by a strained professionalism mixed with thinly veiled curiosity and a hint of trepidation. She observed the meticulously cleared archway, her jaw tight. "Alaric," she conceded, her voice barely audible. This is indeed extraordinary." The delicate task of opening the sealed chamber began. Working with painstaking care, Alaric and his team, now augmented by specialists from the museum, chipped away at the mortar that sealed the entrance. The air was thick with dust and anticipation. The world watched, via live streams and breathless news reports, as history was about to be unsealed. Finally, with a soft crack, the last section of mortar gave way. A rush of cold, stagnant air, carrying the scent of millennia-old dust and something subtly metallic, swept out. Graham shone a powerful torch into the darkness beyond the archway. The beam cut through the gloom, revealing a large, vaulted chamber, surprisingly free of rubble. And then, the light landed on it. In the center of the chamber, on a raised stone plinth, sat a collection of artifacts that sent gasps through the small crowd gathered at the entrance. Gleaming in the torchlight were exquisitely crafted golden goblets, their surfaces intricately chased with scenes of Roman mythology. Beside them, silver platters, adorned with delicate engravings, caught the light. Emeralds, rubies, and sapphires, set into ornate brooches and intricate necklaces, sparkled with an intensity that defied their age. It wasn't just a collection, it was a treasure, a cache of incredible wealth and artistry, preserved untouched for centuries. Alaric stood speechless, the weight of the moment settling upon him. This was not just proof of his villa. This was something far greater, a hidden treasury, a secret vault. The world would never look at Roman Britain the same way again. The grey, persistent drizzle outside seemed to evaporate, replaced by the brilliant glow emanating from within the vault. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to follow Alaric's incredible journey as he uncovers secrets that will shock the world. The discovery of the vault and its unimaginable treasures ignited a global sensation. Alaric Vance, once the ridiculed academic, was now hailed as a visionary, his name synonymous with one of the most significant archaeological finds in British history. The site became a whirlwind of media attention, security personnel, and experts from around the world. Dr. Eleanor Reed, chastened by the irrefutable evidence, publicly acknowledged Alaric's foresight, though her apology felt hollow and carefully worded. Clara, having revealed Dr. Reed's coercion, was given a fresh start by Alaric and quickly distinguished herself with her sharp intellect and newfound integrity. Graham, for his part, shed his perpetual pessimism, now walking with a buoyant, almost proud stride. However, triumph often came with its own set of challenges. The sheer scale of the treasure meant complex legal battles over ownership and heritage. Various international bodies and even private collectors began to make claims, adding layers of bureaucratic complexity. Alaric found himself spending more time in meetings and less time on the actual archaeology, a frustration he felt deeply. Furthermore, the immense value of the find attracted unwanted attention. Security around the site became paramount, with round-the-clock surveillance and armed guards. Alaric felt a constant low thrum of anxiety. The priceless artifacts were safe for now, But the world was suddenly a much more dangerous place. He observed the relentless press conferences, the endless debates over how to house and display the treasure, and felt a strange sense of detachment. The personal satisfaction of being proven right was immense, but it came with a heavy price. The quiet, solitary pursuit of history had been replaced by a very public, very complex responsibility. The once serene landscape now felt charged with a different kind of energy, an almost predatory hum. Months turned into a year. The Wiltshire Roman treasure, as it was officially dubbed, was meticulously catalogued, conserved and eventually displayed in a purpose-built wing of the British Museum. The opening was a grand affair, attended by dignitaries and media from every corner of the globe. Alaric, impeccably dressed, stood beside the Prime Minister, a humble figure amidst the grandeur, as the ribbon was cut. He walked through the gleaming new galleries, observing the crowds marveling at the golden goblets, the silver platters, the glittering jewels. Each artifact was a testament to the skill of ancient Roman artisans and a silent confirmation of his unwavering belief. He watched children press their noses against the display cases, their eyes wide with wonder, and felt a profound sense of accomplishment. This was his legacy, a piece of history brought back to life for generations to come. Clara, now a respected junior curator at the museum, approached him, a genuine smile on her face. "Dr. Vance," she said, "it's magnificent. You changed everything." Her words, simple yet heartfelt, meant more to him than any accolades or awards. Graham, now a sought-after field consultant, clapped him heartily on the back. "Told you, sir, you had a feeling, and what a feeling it was." Yet, amidst the celebration, a quiet melancholy settled over Alaric. The thrill of the chase, the intellectual challenge of deciphering history's clues, was largely over. The field, the muddy earth, the whisper of ancient secrets, that was where his true passion lay. He realized that while the treasure was public, his personal journey had been deeply intimate. The sky outside the museum was a clear, brilliant blue, but Alaric found himself yearning for the familiar grey skies of Wiltshire, and the earth waiting to reveal its next secret. The fame and recognition were immense, but Alaric Vance remained at heart, a man driven by curiosity and the thrill of discovery. He leveraged his newfound influence not for personal gain, but to advocate passionately for greater funding for archaeological research and to champion ethical excavation practices across the globe. He became a highly sought-after speaker, his calm demeanor and genuine enthusiasm inspiring a new generation of aspiring archaeologists to look beyond the headlines and embrace the quiet dedication required for true historical unraveling. He found a different kind of satisfaction in shaping the future of his field. One damp, familiar morning, however, Alaric found himself exactly where he preferred to be. Back in Wiltshire. Not at the now heavily secured and carefully managed villa site, which hummed with the constant activity of tourists and conservationists, but at a remote, unassuming field several miles away. The air was crisp, carrying the raw, earthy scent of wet grass and distant rain. Graham was with him, a new geophysical survey machine humming softly, its rhythmic pulses a comforting sound in the quiet landscape. Clara, now a formidable academic in her own right, her initial misguided loyalty replaced by unwavering dedication, had joined them, notebook in hand, her sharp eyes scanning the terrain. "Are you sure about this, sir?" Graham asked, his voice betraying a hint of his old skepticism, but also an undeniable, almost giddy excitement. He wiped a stray droplet of rain from his brow. "Another wild theory, are we?" Alaric smiled, a genuine, untroubled smile that reached his eyes. "Not wild, Graham. Just a pattern. A subtle energy signature, reminiscent of something I've seen before, deep under the Earth's surface." He pointed to a faint, almost imperceptible anomaly on the survey screen, barely a flicker against the background noise. It was the kind of ghost signal most would dismiss as geological interference. It's small, insignificant to most. It doesn't scream treasure. But sometimes the greatest secrets, the most profound treasures, are hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone to truly listen to the whispers of the past. His gaze drifted over the fields, seeing not just grass and mud, but layers of forgotten time. He knelt down, feeling the cool, damp earth beneath his fingers, a profound sense of peace washing over him. The sky was an endless expanse of soft, diffused grey, mirroring the quiet contemplation in his eyes. The thrill of unearthing the Roman treasure had been immense, a moment of profound vindication, but the true joy lay in the endless possibilities that the earth still held. His journey was not about finding a single treasure, but about the relentless, lifelong pursuit of knowledge, the unending dialogue with history. He knew with absolute certainty that somewhere beneath their feet, another secret was waiting to be found, another story waiting to be told. The shovel was heavy in his hand, a familiar weight, and the horizon, though distant and veiled by mist, felt full of promise. Thank you for watching Alaric's incredible story. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more captivating tales of discovery and human triumph.